a message for Keir Starmer and all those others on the left who've played identity politics for so many years. You know, there's saying in the Bible, it says you reap what you sow. And the left, the hard left, the soft left, whatever you want to call them, the wokerati, those infected with the woke mind virus, have stirred racial tensions deliberately certainly since the Black Lives Matter movement. And it's got worse and worse and worse. White people have been told for years that we're privileged, that we're racist, that we're bigots, that we're motivated by hate and unconscious bias and all the rest of the garbage that we've been told. And now, after years of terrorist attacks, years of knife attacks, up to 1 million English girls groomed, the straw that broke the camel's back was last Monday. And the reality is none of us know what the motivation of that man was that killed those 3 beautiful girls. Nobody knows apart from him. Or maybe the police do know and they're just not telling us. But we certainly don't know. And I still think we've been gaslit, but that's another story. We're not going to that. But Keir, your 2 speeches that you've made this week, you haven't helped solve the problems. You haven't addressed any of the issues that affect the British working class. Not one iota. And from Belfast to London, to Middlesbrough, to Blackburn, to Stoke, you have mass disorder on the streets. You've rival gangs roaming the streets attacking people. And I'm not going to whitewash over anything because I don't think I ever do on my channel. I always try to tell the truth. Yesterday, I saw footage of a young black man being savagely beaten by a group of white men until the police intervened. This afternoon, I've seen, I don't know how many incidents from all over the country of gangs of marauding Muslims attacking isolated white men that have maybe been to demos, maybe haven't been to demos, it doesn't really matter. But they're attacking men on their own, getting them on the floor, kicking them in the head. And this, Keir, is not on internet influencers. And we all know that who you're trying to get at, who you're digging at when you're talking about people running away. You're talking about Tommy Robinson. Well, Tommy Robinson didn't run away, first of all. And secondly, if you look at the statements he's been making since this all broke out, he's been saying, everybody stay calm, don't do this. You're going to imprison, you're going to ruin your lives, stop it. That's what his message has been. Has he been angry about what's been happening? Yes. But he's absolutely not been inciting anything. If anyone's incited stuff, Keir, it's you, with your ludicrous attitude towards this. Claiming that everybody that's involved in everything that's going on is far right. That is just ridiculous. Are the far right involved anywhere along the line? Yes, of course. There is a real far right in this country. And do you think they're going to not get involved in this? This is what they want. They want conflict on the streets. They want violence on the streets. They want a race war, Keir, and you're giving them it. But the far right is a tiny, tiny minority of the British people. And the British people are absolutely indignant with the way you've spoken to them, the way you've treated them. You need to resign, Keir. You need to go. I have friends that... I have a friend who's, I think, of West Indian origin, cameraman, great guy. He was threatened in Southport. I have a friend who's also mixed race who was filming, and he's been threatened. So there are elements absolutely among these crowd that are totally out of order. But there's also a lot of people that go into these protests, protesting peacefully and then getting harassed, pushed about and put upon by the police. That is happening. So there's 2 things happening. Well, there's more than 2 things. There's 2 or 3 things happening here. First of all, there is a real far right. No doubt about it. Will they be involved in these protests and probably in riot? Quite possibly. We don't know for sure, but quite possibly they will. Then there's the young lads who have literally got no hope. They've no prospect of a decent job. They have been let down by the education system. They've been let down by government policy for 40, 50 years. Many of them come from broken homes. Many have had social problems as they've been growing up. And they are angry. The typical angry young man. I'm an angry old man, but these are angry young men. And angry young men are dangerous because they don't have the same filters that angry old men have. They don't realise the consequences of their action. And many of these angry young lads, and again, I would appeal to you, if you're a young lad, you're getting involved in this, don't. But they're getting involved because they don't see that they've got any future. And they do see two-tier policing. And they do see other communities being put above them. They see all those things. And Keir, you don't care. I watched you in both of those statements. You have dead eyes. You have soulless eyes. There is something wrong with you if you are not understanding what's happening. But this is the worst thing about this, Keir. I think you do understand what's happening. And you are using it to destroy right-wing politics in the UK, to tar everybody with the same brush as people who are genuinely far right. And I've just put out a few instances of racism and far right activity that is obviously taking place. But that's not the motivation for the vast majority of people that are going on these protests. And I would say there's probably hundreds of thousands of people on these protests over these weekends. The vast majority of them are going on these protests because they're sick of you. They're sick of people like you, Keir. They're not against people of colour. They're not against different communities. They're against what the government has done to them. And they're standing up for their rights and their civil rights. And you can't have that because you know something, Keir? Even though you claim to come from the white working class, you really despise the white working class, along with all your other lunatics in Hope Not Hate and all those other groups that are no doubt in your ear telling you how evil these people are that are involved in these protests. I've said time and time again since this started, it is wrong to riot. It is not doing anything to help our cause. In fact, quite the opposite. It's going to hinder our cause. When I talk about we, I'm talking about me and Tommy, Lawrence Fox, Calvin Robertson, Carl Benjamin, everybody else that's been involved in the movement for years, had built a movement that had over 100,000 people at an event just over a week ago. And by the way, it's not just me and all the other guys that are on the platform, but all the people in there that do the back end stuff, the stewards, the security, the guys that do the stuff that nobody ever hears about, all the organisation. So big team, put that together. And it was a wonderful event. And literally within days of that event, we have hundreds of our people being arrested on Downing Street by Starmer, by Keir Stalin. Totally and absolutely outrageous. And what I'm hoping is that this stops, that somehow, I don't know, the rain comes or somehow that something dampens this down because somebody's going to get killed. That's what happens in these situations. When you have large numbers of violent people, and I'm talking about Muslims and whoever the other rioters are, because I literally don't know. Some of them could be left-wing agitators. Some of them could be police officers sent in to agitate. We know the way the state works. We don't know who's doing what. And I know this, that we're absolutely not in control of this, that this is nothing to do with our movement. It's nothing to do with Tommy. It's nothing to do with any of us. It's spontaneous. And that's why it's so dangerous. And I'll say again, Keir, and again, you'll probably not see it. Maybe one of your operatives will see it. But I'll say again, Keir, if you really want to sort this problem out, why don't you pick up the phone and talk to Tommy Robinson? Get Tommy on the phone and say, Tommy, what is it that your movement really wants? And then maybe we could get to some sort of resolution where we could calm things down. I was going to say revolution there, but that looks like it's on the cards. But that's not what we want. We want peace. We want a peaceful movement, a democratic movement that democratically in 5 years' time can get rid of you, Keir, can get you booted out of power. But I think you're going to clamp down. I think you're going to use this to try and imprison Tommy. I think that would be a big mistake if you sent Tommy to prison, because I think that would pour even more fuel on the fire that you've lit. Or maybe that's what you want, because in the manual of how not to deal with things, I think you've obviously read that manual several times, because this is exactly how not to deal with the British public. You have declared war, Keir, on the entire British public. You should be ashamed of yourself. You should be disgusted with yourself. But no, you're just looking down the camera lens with those cold, dark, soulless eyes as you literally set fire to the United Kingdom. Keir Starmer, Keir Stalin, whatever your name is, you should resign. But no doubt you'll be the man that clings to power as long as you possibly can. Well, I'm going to tell you something, Keir. It's not going to end well for you. This will end your career unless you wise up and realise you have made a catastrophic mistake in attacking the British people in the way you had. Protesters are not far right. A lot of these rioters won't be far right. And none of us, we're sick of those scumbag leftists that call us on the street, tell us we're Nazis, tell us we're fascists. We're sick of them. We're sick of listening to them. So nobody cares what you think. But you better do something, because sending your police in to crack a few skulls is going to make things a whole lot worse. The summer's not nearly over yet. And unless you get this right, you're going to have a long, hot summer that's going to cost you your political career and leave the United Kingdom in ruins. Enjoy your holiday, Keir.